We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel, ring that notification bell, smash the like button, share the video if you want to support this college football rebel outpost with a donation. Help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $ where you make a comment and I'll get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. A lot has happened since you and I have been in the studio talking college football. First of all, my heart goes out to the family and loved ones of Rondale Moore, who passed away, according to reports, from suicide. And I just wanted to let everybody know that, first of all, really the discussion should be around the person Rondale Moore. From all accounts, a great guy, a true just a really good guy. Now, I never talked with him. I really don't know him all that well, but all accounts, he conducted himself on the football field with his teammates, with the fans. The way he talked about Trent Tyler, the Purdue Boilermaker fan who succumbed to cancer. Trent Tyler and Rondale Moore became really close friends. On the football field, Rondale Moore was, just incredible. Fantastic football player, fun to watch, 5'7". 5'7". Rondale Moore was always the underdog, but most of the time he was the best football player on the field in college football. Again, he's had a bunch of injuries in the NFL. And I just want to, before we talk about college football, because this is a show in which we have a lot of fun. We're talking about the sport that we love, the teams that we love. This is sort of like a break from the real world, but sometimes we talk about the real world here at PATC. And I just want to put this message out to everybody in the chat room, everybody who ever watched the show. I am putting this message out to everybody. Everybody. But I got to tell you, this message really goes out to the young men who are in the chat room who will be watching the show later on. You are loved. Your life is worth it. There are going to be down times. There's going to be up times. Things are going to get tough. But you are loved. You would be missed. Talk to people. Talk to your friends. Talk to your teammates. Talk. And for those of us who maybe life is going pretty good, keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel and look out for those who you believe are feeling pretty down about life, about things that are going on. Reach out to each other. We've always ended the show, please, you all take great care of each other. So please take care of each other. Now, this message is for everybody. It just so happens that the demographics of the show is 98% men, 2% women. And this message goes out to the old guys like me. But in particular, it goes out to you young guys, okay? It's tough. Life is tough sometimes. You lose a job, something doesn't go right at your job, your girl breaks up with you, whatever it is, please reach out. You are loved. You are loved. You matter. You absolutely matter. Even in your most difficult times, you matter. Okay? All right? And if you need to reach out to me on DMs on Twitter, or right here in the chat room, and we'll talk after the show. But reach out. Your life matters. Your life matters. You are a child of God. You are royalty. Everybody in the chat room is actually royalty. And we should treat each other as such. All right. Now, let's get to the college football show. It's a stacked show. Yes! I'm finally going to talk about my PATC Big 12 quarterback rankings. 1 through 16. We're doing it on this slide. I kept putting it off. We're going to do it today. And a lot of you are going to say, oh, Greg, this is horrible. You got it all wrong. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat how wrong I got it. Let me know that your guy who's ranked number 12 should be ranked number 3 for the Big 12 quarterbacks. Now, when we get into this, we are using PFF. We're not using their rankings. They didn't even rank them. But they decided, or they're projecting. They're projecting. That's the better word. PFF is projecting the 16 starters of the 16 Big 12 teams. So we use those projections, and then we ranked them PATC 1 through 16. So it's gonna be controversial. Now my mind might be changed in the spring camp here, in the summer camp that we're hitting in August. But for right now, these are my rankings. And a couple of these guys, I mean, there's a couple wild cards in here. Cutter, he's a wild card. He's an absolute wild card for Arizona State. I would say Michael Hawkins is an absolute wild card. I mean, guys they might reach heights that nobody is expecting. You know, and I've used this example over and people are tired of me. People are tired of me using this Sam Leavitt example. When Sam Leavitt went to Arizona State, you know, not a lot of people gave it much. Who cares, really? All right, fine. He's going to go play for Dillingham. Dillingham, first-year head coach. I was intrigued because I saw Sam Leavitt play against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I don't know. The Gophers were up something like 34-0 against the Spartans. I might be wrong. It might have been 38-0. Might have been 34-7. Whatever. It was an absolute wipeout. 2 years in a row, the Golden Gophers wiped out the Spartans. But late in the game, Sam Leavitt came on the football field. And it was like, who the heck is this guy? And why is he Sparty's third-string quarterback? I think Dillingham saw that tape and said, and you saw what Sam Leavitt did for Arizona State, winning the Big 12 championship 2 years ago. Maybe Dillingham has done the same thing this year. Maybe. So I'm kind of excited to go through these rankings, and you guys can rip on my rankings. All right. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. I am going to include Notre Dame talk with the ACC during this off season. I really did not talk too much about Notre Dame last year because, you know, I do a lot of, you know, when I talk about a conference, I do that one conference. We do a spotlight series on every FBS team, every Power 4 team, I should say. But I got to start including Notre Dame a lot more in our discussions. And I got to say, I got Notre Dame number 6. And the reason why I don't have Notre Dame ahead of Indiana, the reason why I don't have Notre Dame ahead of Texas Tech, and possibly the reason I don't have Notre Dame ahead of Oregon in my way too early top 25, is because they lost their two stud running backs. And I do not know how the running back room is going to look like at South Bend. You let me know what you think, but I don't know what's going to happen. Right? They got that Williams, and Amos Williams coming back. He's probably going to be RB1 to start the spring camp, August camp. You know, Nolan James is another guy, redshirt freshman. People are high on. And then they got the big-time recruit out of Texas, Osborne. I can't remember his first name. Osborne. And the guy from Georgia, Jonas Walton. So they got a lot of guys that they think they love, but again, replacing those two running backs, Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. Woo! Man, that is going to be, we'll see what happens. But everything else at Notre Dame, if they can get a couple of those young studs or Williams, if they can somehow not completely fall off the table at the running back position, Notre Dame is set for a national championship run just like 2 years ago. Because they got everything else, especially the defense. We're going to go just a small part of Pete Sampson's article talking about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the amount of experience they've got on the defensive side of the football. It is absolutely incredible. We're just going to touch upon it a little bit, a couple of minutes. I just want to get it in. I want you all to marinate on this. Because later on during this offseason, we're going to come back to Notre Dame. They are a major threat for a national championship run. All right. And this is why we're doing the Big 12 rankings. Before we do the Spotlight series on all the Power 4 teams, like we did last year, I want to go through some rankings. I want to talk about the strengths of some teams and the conferences. Next, we'll do the Big 10 quarterback rankings. After we get done with all the quarterbacks, we're going to talk about the most talented defensive players from every team. And then we'll do a Spotlight series on every team. During the offseason, here at College Football, Peek Around the Corner, we cover everything. Everything. We don't just talk about one certain lane of we're not just talking about media money. We're not just talking about recruiting. We're not just talking about coaching. We're not just talking about rumors. We're not just talking about realignment. We're not just talking about private equity. We talk about it all. Everything. So buckle up, brace for impact, get ready for a big, busy off season. Subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell. Here comes the evil badger. The evil badger. $5 holler. $5 holler, evil badger. I bet Greg actually likes cheeseburgers. Especially Culver's cheeseburgers. I don't like the butter burgers, but I like the bacon cheeseburgers. Evil badger. There is another evil badger that comes in the chat room quite often. You all know him, Jeff Olson. Okay? Jeff Olson. The next time, evil badger, Ryan Willie, you see Jeff Olson in the chat room, you ask him, does Greg really like cheeseburgers? And then listen to his answer. Jeff Olson has been a very close personal friend for decades. He'll let, if the next time Terry Nord is in the chat room, ask him. The next time Daniel Leonard is in the chat room, ask him. By the way, these are the same guys who know who BTM is. They know they know a lot of things on how we broke the PJ Flex story, the USC story. Close personal friends. Go ask them the next time in the chat room, and they'll let you know. They'll let you know that Greg thinks cheeseburgers are an absolute abomination. But thank you for the $5 holler. Go get that walleye. Go get that walleye at Culver's right now. Go get it. Not right now. After the show. After the show. After the show. Thank you for the $5 holler, Eva Badger. So we're going to be talking about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We're going to be going through my Big 12 quarterback rankings. And then we're going to talk about the exit hatch. We got all these variables going on, right? Right? We got, when we're talking about conference realignment, when we're talking about the next wave of disruption, all of these different variables. Nothing is imminent. Nothing is imminent at all. Right? We've got market size. We've got the institution itself. We've got brand power. We've got all these variables, relationships. One of the variables that we really haven't spent enough time on, but it could play a big factor in what happens, is the exit hatch. Who has the exit hatch advantage? And if they do, is that going to play a big part in that institution being able to get to a P2, for example? On my title, the title of this live show is Miami and Duke have an exit hatch advantage. I will be explaining that. It doesn't mean that Duke is going to be able to get to the Big Ten of the SEC. It doesn't mean that Miami is going to be able to get to the Big Ten of the SEC. It doesn't mean that. We're not reporting that. But of all the discussions that I've had, one of the discussions that come about is exit hatch. How difficult, how easy will it be for that team to get themselves aligned, that university, that athletic department, to make the move? The cultural aspects to it, the money aspect to it, the political aspect to it, the alignment within the institution aspect to it, the exit hatch. The exit hatch. Miami, their exit hatch, now, none of this is easy, right? I'm talking about everything being relative to each other. Miami's exit hatch versus other universities that might be looking to get to the P2. Miami's exit hatch is a lot easier, a lot more doable. And Duke as well. There are some other schools where the exit hatch is a lot more complicated. We'll talk about it. Now, how big a factor is that going to play? I don't know. At times it does. At times it doesn't. But at times it does. Remember, the reason why we had Colorado at the center of the stage for months before it actually happened is because it was going to be easier for Colorado to go in their exit hatch from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 for so many different reasons. We went over it, and we went over it. And sure enough, that was it. I mean, they were the ones that Yormark was focusing on the most. So it does like back to the Big Ten. When they were trying to build out their eastern part of their conference, when Jim Delaney said to everybody in the Big Ten, we need to become a two-region conference, They went to North Carolina. North Carolina said no. They went to Virginia. Virginia said no. They went to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech said, without North Carolina, Virginia, we're not interested. Well, they went to Rutgers. And Rutgers, they had a very easy exit hatch for them to part ways from the ACC. They were so willing to do it. They were so willing to do it that they were going to be able, that the Big Ten had all the leverage. But Rutgers, exit hatch, bam, and they went to the Big Ten as long as Maryland was going to say yes. And Maryland eventually did say yes. Maryland's exit hatch was a lot more complicated. Internally, politically, the president got dragged over the coals. That's the story for another day. Duke and Miami actually have the easiest exit hatch. And I would say that Clemson and Florida State are not too far behind. A lot of other candidates for Big Ten, their exit hatch is very, very complicated. And it might be more complicated than even I think it's going to be. I mean, shoot. Look at the Big 12 universities. Look at the Big 12 schools that are motivated to try to get to the Big 10 or to the SEC. I mean, they do not have, there's not a court settlement on how they would leave the Big 12 if something would happen in 26 or 27 or 28. Unlike the ACC schools, in which Florida State and Clemson won that big case in the court. Now, Utah is building an exit hatch. They're building an exit hatch. We talked about that a couple of live shows ago. So the exit hatch is one of the variables of many variables, one in which we not have talked about, but we're going to talk about it today. So I want to thank you all for joining us. I very much appreciate it. Karan Shakar is in the house. My neck, I got a kink in my neck. Bruce Harris, Boomer Sooner. Matthew Carlson, the Michigan Wolverine, the Buckeye, Caleb Ramirez, John Dry. Hey, y'all, win a natty, Texas Tech. CFB Plus is in the house. Holy smokes. The Ohio Bobcat, Stephen Vitt is here. Daniel Gorby is here. Bimba 7579, Jonathan Weaver. Bill G is in the house. Bill G is in the house. The Oklahoma State Cowboy, the Cyclone, Stormy Cyclone is here. Old Dad, thanks for coming on in. VP Hokey is in the house. Mama Duck, hi, Mama Duck, thanks for coming on in. Adam Vulture, thank you for coming on in, appreciate it. The reigning, defending, undisputed PATC Trivia, College Football Trivia World Champion, Ryan Brooks is in the house. Go Tigers. Bob Swanger is here. Say Brats. John. Yo, good. What's good from Dallas? Thank you for coming on in. I appreciate it. Say Brats. Tough Tony is in the house. USA Hockey. Rich Austin. Utah Utes. Greg the Gold. Go Utes. Preston from North Carolina. Jose. CJ Carr will be blitzed heavily. That old line will be tested weekly. Skaven, yes, is in the house. Son of Sarek, these teams are dreading being picked by Greg. Not this year. Everybody wants their team to be picked by Greg the Gold this year. Greg the Gold. Amazing Blue is in the house. RT is in the house. Christopher Mercado, no cheese, please. Coy is here. All right. Daniel Gorby. North Carolina has a very difficult exit hatch. Now, again, it's just one variable, right? It's just one. And the impact, that variable might not really play any impact to this story, but it might. So we're going to cover it. We are going to cover it. Hold on, everybody. Hold on 1 second. We've got another $5 holler. $5 holler. Ryan Willie, the Wisconsin legislature passed a $14.6 million per year for Washington Athletic Department debt maintenance, aka NIL. Thanks for bringing that up, Ryan Willie. I appreciate it. $5 holler. The Wisconsin legislature has passed a $14.6 million per year maintenance. Okay. Now, later on in the program, once we talk about the quarterback rankings, I want to hit upon a story in the state of Kansas. We're going into the state of Kansas. All right? It looks like Kansas and Kansas State are also pursuing a state government, for lack of a better term, debt maintenance, some money from the state government to help them out. We're going to go through that story real quick. We've talked about here recently our Virginia source, University of Virginia source, who talked about how they've been told that the governor, this governor, just like the previous governor, just like the previous attorney general, this governor, Spanberger, her policy on the next realignment is Virginia Tech is going to have to be taken care of. And one of the reasons is because Virginia Tech did get an invite to the Southeastern Conference. If Virginia did get an invite to the Big Ten, that the University of Virginia would probably need the support of the state. So politically, they're going to have to look out for Virginia Tech as well. Okay, the point that I'm getting to is, and this is not, Wisconsin is not affected by what I'm about to say. Okay? But Virginia, University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, and others might be affected by what I'm about to say. Kansas, Kansas State. Once you ask for the state, once you ask the state to belly up to the bar and to help you in this new NIL era, well, the state is probably going to have more of a voice in what could potentially happen when it comes to the next wave of realignment. Now, we've already seen that the biggest case of this is in the state of North Carolina, the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors that oversee a handful of public universities of the North Carolina, they have the power of litigation, they have the power of realignment in the palm of their hands. They're going to be the ones that make the decision. You've got to get it to the Board of Governors. That's a very complicated exit hatch for North Carolina. Now, it just happens that North Carolina is, besides Notre Dame, is the number one target for the Big Ten and the SEC. So this complicated exit hatch might not have them stumble to their knees. It might, though. But it might not. The point is, once you start going to the state legislator asking for help, well, you're going to lose some of your probably some of your own authority on decisions that you want to make in the future. One of the many reasons why we've got Duke and Miami as the two schools that have the easiest exit hatches to get into. But we'll go through all that. Thank you, Eva Badger. Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me on that. Wisconsin legislator passed a $14.6 million per year for Wisconsin Athletic Department debt maintenance. Thank you, Eva Badger. Appreciate it so very much. Joaquin Morales is in the house. Great for Trojan is here. Thanks for coming on in. Coy, thank you for coming on in. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Rutgers, Big East. What did I said AAC? My bad. I also want to say thank you to all who have reached out to me and said some prayers and stuff. My wife, the little general, is in Mexico. I'm not going to give her location up. Right now, they are going to stay at wherever they are. And she's not due to be home for a while yet. We might have to change our plans on that. It depends on how the airports, how secure they are in the next couple of days. But I want to say thank you for all those who reached out to me about that. So thank you for your prayers. Thank you so very much. The little general left February 9th to be with her mother, to take care of her mother. She has spent a lot of time and resources and prayers in taking care of her family since the day we got married 23 years ago. This was a planned trip. We knew that there was some risks involved. There always is. Always risk. But again, she has been here to help me take care of my father before he passed away. She's been here to help me take care of my mother. So she's going to go home and take care of her mother when she needs to, and she needed to at this point in time. So thank you all for all your blessed prayers. It hasn't gone unnoticed, so thank you so very much. Okay, let's talk some college football. Let's do the Irish. I just want to touch upon the Irish. I know a lot of you are going to be upset. Oh, geez. Flugar is talking about Notre Dame once again. I'm just going to hit just a little bit. All right? Pete Sampson, The Athletic. A big old article. We're just taking about 5% of it. First of all, it talks about Notre Dame transferred from Oregon, Tiani Gray. He comes in a little bit late. To practice. And the players got on him. That really showed me this is a real player-led team, Gray said. Man, they really want to get back to the natty. They want to get back to the national championship game. Marcus Freeman. 1 month into the Notre Dame careers, many of the 7 incoming Irish transfers, cornerback DJ McKinney from Colorado, can sense the experience of the team they've joined. They can also count it if they want to dive into the total snaps. I wouldn't say it's an old group, but like everybody's been in the system since cornerback Jaden Sanders, who relocated from Michigan. And they know everything. They should, at least on defense. There's a reason why I'm talking about this, all right? Just give me a little bit of time after this quick little article. There's a reason why I'm talking about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Yes, Notre Dame is in just its second year under defensive coordinator Chris Hash, with new position coaches at all 3 levels of the unit. But the Irish defense boasts virtually identical snap count to the unit that powered Notre Dame to the national championship game 2 years ago. In fact, there's more of an experienced snap count to this defense. 6 players with more than 1,000 career snaps, and another 7 with at least 600. Counting scholarship players only, this Irish defense returned 16,579 career snaps. Leonard Moore, the great cornerback, the best secondary player in the nation, he's coming back this year. He's going to be a junior. The 2024 defense in the final season of Al Golden's defensive coordinator tenure, they had 16,164 snaps. This defense is as experienced as the 2024 defense. Offensively, the 2026 Irish bring back just 9,030 snaps. Knapp, the tackle, Jordan Fajon, receiver, Greathouse, Ashton Craig, Lambert, and quarterback CJ Carr. Can Notre Dame weaponize all this experience? Starting next month when spring practice opens, the Irish are among the betting favorites to go all the way this fall. Much of that optimism is due to the talent assembled by Freeman, and some of it lies in how veteran the talent will be when it hits the field. At a minimum, the Irish have a roster moving in the right direction and a group ready to self-correct when it gets off track. So why am I talking about this? You know, since the national championship game, a lot of people have been on X. A lot of people have been in the PATC chat room talking about how Indiana won it all, Greg. Indiana won it all because they were so old. They had so much experience. Kirk Cignetti, he found the secret sauce. He just got all the old players. All right? Well, maybe part of that is true. Right? Indiana fielded an older, more experienced guys. The team was also incredibly coached. Right? They did everything right. They had the talent evaluation. Well, okay. If people want to go by that, well, then you're going to have to take a look at this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team. That defense in 2024, led by Al Golden, that was a very experienced football team. And they showed it. They went all the way to the national championship game. This year's Notre Dame defense is loaded. And they've got so much experience. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we got to keep an eye on that running back room at Notre Dame. The wide receiver room, which is usually, in my opinion, their weakness, is going to be pretty good this year. It has been stabilized. They're going to be fine. CJ Carr, I think, is going to be fine. He might not be great, but I think he's going to be awfully good. That defense is going to be elite. That running back room, trying to recover from the losses of Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love, I think that's the whole ball of wax. And if you are a fan of a team that thinks they can contend and win the national championship game, you're going to have to keep an eye on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish running back group. Because if those two young freshmen, if they pop, if Williams, as a junior, he becomes RB1 and he pops, if that Notre Dame Fighting Irish running back room turns out to be a great one, I think Notre Dame is going to be a favorite to get to the semis, to potentially get to the championship, and to win the whole damn thing. So that's why I just wanted to bring up Notre Dame just for a little bit. Hopefully I did not get all you upset. Hopefully I did not get you all upset. Now let's talk about the quarterback rankings of the Big 12. PATC. Finally, with our rankings, start of the season. Well, not start of the season. Start of spring camp. CFB, PATC, Big 12 quarterback rankings. Let's get to it. Put it down in the chat room. Let me know how wrong I got it once again. Nick Kelso, hope the little general is safe. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Karan Shakar. Preston from Greensboro, they better not mess with the little general. She rules with an iron fist. Thank you, Preston from Greensboro. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Grateful Trojan, Jose, Amazing Blue. Appreciate it. All right. Buckeye Greg, thank you for becoming a member for 27 months. Thank you so very much. Hold on, everybody. Hello?
Police are surrounding an IHOP restaurant in Brooklyn Park.
Okay, hold on, everybody. That's my 93-year-old mother at the door of my studio. Give me a moment, everybody. Give me a moment, everybody. This is the first time she's come to my door in about 3 years. So hold on. Time out, everybody. Hold on.
Police have surrounded the IHOP restaurant in Brooklyn Park. That's all I got.
Did any of you hear what my mother said when she opened up the studio door? This is the first time she's done that like in 3 years. No, it was silent. Nobody heard what she said. Really? I'm gonna have to replay the tape and after the show. So she's watching TV and there was breaking news. Yeah, IHOP. Yep. She says police in Brooklyn Park have surrounded an IHOP restaurant in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. That's what she needed to break into the studio and let me know. And she's got her walker and she's barely standing up. So I got her back in the bed. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. So keep an eye out for the news of IHOP being surrounded in Brooklyn Park. Buckeye Greg, go Buckeyes. Congratulations to the men's and women's hockey teams on a historic sweep of gold medals in the Winter Olympics. Absolutely fantastic. Great hockey game. That men's game was absolutely thrilling. Thank you, Buckeye Greg, for becoming a member for 27 months. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your friendship. Buckeye Greg, Early Peak, Cloak, and Dagger. The police are raiding the IHOP. Well, they got it surrounded. She said the police have surrounded IHOP in Brooklyn Park. She said roll tide. Well, that's what she would have said if she was talking college football. All right, here we go. Big 12 rankings. Big 12 rankings. Thank you, Buckeye Greg. Thank you so very much. All right. And then we'll get to the exit hatch. Miami, Duke, and everybody else's. Number 16. Number 16. Out of 16. Grateful Trojan. The hockey capital of the U.S. is now Michigan. No. How many golfers won a gold medal in hockey in the Olympics? How many golden golfers won a gold medal in hockey from the women's and the men's? 6. Nobody else can match that. Nobody else can match the over 40 Olympic gold medals that the golfers have gotten in the Olympics over the lifetime. It's always going to be Minnesota. It's always going to be Minnesota. Azon the Kid says it's not going to be Chase Jenkins. It could be Coy Ballard. I had Coy Ballard, but I also had him number 16. Jalen Daniels exhausted his eligibility after 6 years, during which he started games for Kansas. The Jayhawks now turn to Jenkins, who started at Rice in 2025. He posted a 67.7 PFF passing grade this past season while also running for 615 yards. Azon the Kid says Isaiah Marshall is going to be the starter. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. All right, we'll see. Whoever it is, look, I'm going to have them at I'm going to have the Kansas starting quarterback at number 16. And before you take too much offense to that, Drake Lindsey was number 18 on everybody's Big Ten's list for starting quarterbacks because nobody knew Drake Lindsey. But he ended up with 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Very good freshman season for Drake Lindsey. So just because we have you at number 16, they're just not proven. So number 16, Chase Jenkins, Marshall, Ballard, whoever Kansas has got. Number 15. Number 15. My goodness. J.C. French. Cincinnati Bearcats transferred over after Brendan Sorsby left. With Brendan Sorsby transferring to another Big 12 school in Texas Tech, Cincinnati was forced to dip into the portal itself and bring in French. He started the past 2 seasons at Georgia Southern and has just a 66.2 PFF passing grade during that stretch. So French was going to come in at number 15 or come in at number 16 because he probably is more solidified as the Bearcats starting quarterback. I put him at number 15. Number 14 might surprise a lot of people. Colorado Buffalo. Julian Lewis returning. Lewis did not open the season as Colorado's starting quarterback, but seized the job for the final 2 games of the season. The former top 60 recruit impressed as a true freshman overall with a 6.1% big-time throw rate compared to just a 1.7% turnover-worthy play rate. He could take a leap as a redshirt freshman with a full offseason as the starter. So Julian Lewis, maybe this is the one that I'm going to be most off on, right? This guy could be a top 5, top 6, top 7 Big 12 quarterback this year. But again, he did not win the starting job last year. We'll see what happens. Julian Lewis, number 14. Number 13, Mr. Renard. Jalen Raynor, Iowa State Cyclone, another transfer. Following 3 seasons as Iowa State starting quarterback, Rocco Beck decided to follow his head coach, Matt Campbell, to Penn State. New head coach Jimmy Rogers hit the portal to find his next quarterback in Rayner. 3 years at the starting experience with the Arkansas State with a 79.9 career PFF grade. This is the lowest you could have put Jalen Rayner. I could have put him a little bit higher. I could have. But I do like this guy's ceiling a little bit higher. The Mountaineer, Michael Hawkins. Hawkins will become West Virginia's full-time starter after starting 5 games across his 2 seasons at Oklahoma. His legs will be a nice fit in head coach Rich Rodriguez's offense as he ran for 374 yards and a 5.6 yards average with the Sooners. Hawkins will have to improve upon his 62.1 career PFF passing grade. Michael Hawkins, I think he's got a lot of potential. Can he reach it? Can he reach it? Number 11 is another guy who's had a lot more opportunities than Michael Hawkins, who may even have a higher ceiling than Michael Hawkins, but I just haven't seen it yet. I just haven't seen DJ Legway. PJ Legway, DJ Legway. Baylor Bears. Legway wasn't able to live up to his 5-star hype during his 2 seasons at Florida, and will now try to do so at his father's alma mater, Baylor Bears. He has a 68.5 PFF grade, 31 big-time throws, and 25 turnover-worthy plays. Legway must clean up his footwork and decision-making, but he still has elite physical tools. I've been pretty down on DJ Legway. To me, he does not have these physical tools that people keep talking about. I'm very interested to see it at Baylor. I'm very interested to watch it happen. With Florida, I felt like maybe it was all injuries. Maybe he was suffering the shoulder injury. Maybe they talk about his legs, his footwork. His running ability, I think, is completely overrated. I've talked about that before. Big, strong guy, he can move, but he can't avoid anything. He cannot avoid a sack. He cannot avoid an oncoming rush. He cannot make that move to get another 5 downs. He's not Fernando Mendoza. But we'll see what happens. I've got him at number 11. Most of you will probably have DJ Legway a lot higher on the list. But I just could not do it. I just could not do it. Now, an absolute wild card is the Harvard man, Jaden Craig, TCU Horned Frogs. Josh Hoover left TCU. He's going to go replace Fernando Mendoza at Indiana. Sonny Dykes, TCU brought in one of the best quarterbacks at the FCS level in Craig to replace him. His 31 big-time throws at Harvard this season were the second most in FBS, while his 91.3 PFF grade was 6. Again, if you go over the top FCS quarterbacks of the last 3 years, Mark Gronowski, pretty good career at South Dakota State, had a pretty decent year at Iowa. Brosmere, you know what he did at Minnesota. The best FCS quarterback coming from New Hampshire 2 years ago. 3 years ago, Cam Ward, saw what he did at Miami. So again, we have a lot of examples of the top FCS quarterbacks coming in and doing pretty good. Jaden Craig, if you go Google, if you just go take any, watch the tapes of Jaden Craig, go read what the NFL scouts think of Jaden Craig. I've got Jaden Craig at number 10. He could be a top 5 Big 12 quarterback this year. He could very well be a top 5 quarterback in the Big 12 this year. He's an absolute wild card. The next guy I don't think has all that high of a ceiling, but he's been a pretty good quarterback, a pretty good competitor. I've got Big 12 number 9, Mr. Barnett, Alonzo Barnett, UCF Knights. Spent the past 2 years, James Madison starting quarterback, leading the Dukes to the college football playoff this past season. Only a 61.5 PFF. 15 rushing touchdowns. He's a tough kid, very tough competitor. I do think he has a lower ceiling than some of the guys I have rated behind him. But again, he's done it on the football field at James Madison. I think number 9 is the best spot for Alonzo Barnett the third. Number 8 in the Big 12. Quarterback rankings. Cutter Boley. Cutter Boley is the wild card. He is the wild card in all of the Big 12 quarterbacks, in my opinion. Devin Dampier was the wild card last year. Cutter Boley is the wild card this year. With Sam Leavitt transferring to LSU, head coach Kenny Dillingham was forced to dip into the transfer portal once again to find his next starter in Boley. He started 10 games for Kentucky as a redshirt freshman and struggled with his decision-making, tossing 7 big-time throws in 19 turnover-worthy plays. Oh, Greg, that doesn't sound too good. Greg. How can you have Cutter Boley at number 8? How can you do that? I watched this kid play. He's got moxie. There's something about this kid. There's something about him. Kentucky, Cutter Boley had a gamble. He had to make big plays. You got to remember, under Mark Stoops was a successful head coach at Kentucky. He was. But the one position that Coach Stoops failed miserably at Kentucky was the quarterback position. He could never solve that issue. Cutter Boley did what he possibly could do. And then, what did Kentucky do? They brought in Will Stein, the offensive coordinator at Oregon Ducks. And of course, there's going to be massive change at Kentucky. Probably really good change at Kentucky. But Cutter Boley says, well, I'm probably not going to be part of those plans. So he goes in the portal, and Kenny Dillingham, who plucked out Sam Leavitt, now has plucked out Cutter Boley. I don't know, guys. I got him at number 8. Maybe a lot of you would have him at number 12, number 13, but I got him at number 8. Playing with Kenny Dillingham, I'm pretty excited to see what happens here. Number 7. The new Oklahoma State Cowboy under new head coach Eric Morris. Drew Mestamaker. Oklahoma State has a new head coach in Eric Morris, and he brought in his star signal caller from North Texas. He led all quarterbacks, 4,384 passing yards, 433 more than the next closest quarterback. Mestamaker, 86.1 PFF passing grade, was also ninth in the nation. Now he's going to step up in class. He's going to step up in class. He's going to step up in class. Got him number 7 in the Big 12 rankings. I could put him ahead of the other 6. But in the first couple of weeks, Oklahoma State, we all might be sitting here going, yeah, he's top 3. He's top 3. But right now, Drew Mestamaker, the cowboy hopes and dreams rest on the shoulder of Caleb Hawkins, Eric Morris, and Drew Mestamaker, number 7. But I could not put him ahead of this guy. Could not put him ahead of this guy who has done it in the Big 12. Who has already elevated a bottom-dwelling Big 12 team up above its fighting weight. Connor Weigman, Houston Cougar. Weigman is back for his second season as Houston's starting quarterback after a solid 74.4 passing grade. That was more due to his rushing ability. So we've got Weigman at number 6. Number 5, Avery Johnson, Kansas State. He's going to have to elevate himself. He's going to have to elevate himself. Johnson enters his 3rd season as Kansas State starting quarterback with new head coach, former Wildcat quarterback Colin Klein. His offense is ideally suited for Johnson's dual threat skill set as he rushed for 1,200 yards over the past 2 seasons. Avery Johnson is at number 5. At number 5. I couldn't put him at 4. I couldn't put him at 4 because number 4 belongs to Devon Dampier. Devon Dampier, returning starter for the Utah Utes. Good first season last year. 83.1 PFF grade, was tied for the 25th nationally with Ty Simpson. 878 rushing yards, were 4th among the Power 4 quarterbacks. What Dampier is going to have to do this year, under the new head coach, to really battle for the Big 12 championship, Devon Dampier is going to have to connect on those long, deep throws. Once in a while, he's going to have to connect. He's got to get the defense off their toes, back on their heels. Once in a while, Dampier's got to make the defense pay for coming up, squeezing up at the line of scrimmage with the linebackers and safeties. Devon Dampier has got to elevate his game just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And Utah will be in the running to get to the Big 12 championship game. Dampier's at number 4. Number 3 is this man, Noah Fafita. 4th season as Arizona starter. Top 15 signal caller in the sport. 88.1 PFF grade for his career. Coming off a career high 83.5 passing grade. 14th in the FBS. Yeah. Noah Fafita is number 3 on the list. No question about it. Top 3. What he did last year. Look, Arizona should be excited about this season. They should be excited about this season. They've got a shot to get to the Big 12 championship game. This team expects to get to the Big 12 championship game. This team expects to win the Big 12 championship once again. If you look at our title screen, that is the Texas Tech football stadium. They're the Big 12 champions. The Red Raiders are the defending, reigning, undisputed Big 12 champions. So it is that backdrop that we're doing the CFB PATC quarterback rankings. Number two, Big 12 PATC rankings for the quarterback, the transfer, Brendan Sorsby. The Red Raiders reportedly gave Sorsby a $5 million NIL deal to help them win back-to-back Big 12 championships, and it's not hard to see why. His 90.5 PFF grade at Cincinnati this past season tied for 5th among all quarterbacks in the nation. Holy smokes. The Red Raiders are stepping up in quarterback. They're stepping up in quarterback. They are. No offense to the Red Baron Morton, who had an outstanding career at Texas Tech. But the Red Raiders have elevated at the quarterback position. No doubt about it. It's going to be fun to see what the Red Raiders do here. And I'm hoping Joyner is back healthy, the running back that the Red Raiders got last year from USC, who got injured before the season started. Brendan Sorsby, number 2. Number 1, Superman, Provo, Utah, Bear Bachmeier. Bachmeier is back after a terrific freshman season at BYU. His 78.5 PFF grade led all true freshman quarterbacks in the FBS as he led the Cougars to a 12-2 record in a Big 12 championship game. Bear Bachmeier, number 1. So there it is. And I loved how Kalani Sitake and the BYU Cougars, the offensive coordinator, which a lot of BYU Cougar fans did not like last couple of years, but I like how they managed Bear Bachmeier. I liked how they called the plays. I loved how they gave Bear Bachmeier the freedom at the line of scrimmage to audible as a true freshman. Bear Bachmeier had enough design runs to keep that defensive honest. And Bear Bachmeier made it happen over and over and over again. With his legs, with his arms. He was Superman last year. And now he's coming back for year 2. And he's the number 1 ranked Big 12 quarterback in PATC's rankings. Let me know how wrong I got it with all of these rankings. Let me know how wrong I got it in the chat room or with your phone calls later on in the program. We've got Helmer Hennessy, $2 holla. Congrats, U.S. Hockey. Absolutely, Helmer Henderson. Thank you for the $2 holler. Women's and the men, $2 holler. They got the gold. First time in 46 years, 1980. It was a fantastic hockey game. We knew that overtime was not going to last very long. Great game. Goalie made 40. Hellebuck, who was UMass great goalie back in, gosh, it's been a long time. He was a great college goalie. I don't even want to, 12 years maybe, 13 years ago, UMass Lowell, UMass. But anyway, great win, 41 saves. Thank you for the $2 holler. I appreciate it, Hummer Henderson. Thank you so very much. Quentin Joyner. Yeah, hopefully Quentin Joyner is healthy for the Red Raiders. Stephen Vitt. Sorsby isn't a bad quarterback, but Texas Tech way way overpaid for him. Yep. Rumor Moscow is out. I do not know anything about that. I'll check on it. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Superman, yes. Bear Bachmeyer, Superman. In Helmer Henderson, Super Chat. How far will Ole Miss go this year? Well, you know, they've got Chambliss back, right? Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback. They also are bringing back Lacey, their great running back last year. So offensively, they're going to be probably outstanding. Defense, which they kind of struggled last year a little bit, even though they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. You know, we'll see. We're gonna have to open up the hood and take a look at the old Rebels engine and see what they've got. We'll see. In my rankings, in my way too early top 25 rankings, I've got them at number 15. Just outside the playoffs, Alabama, Ole Miss, Michigan, Houston. I got them in that batch. So I expect a good season out of Ole Miss. When the season starts, maybe I have Ole Miss in the playoffs, right? We're going to have to learn more about them in a little bit. Maybe some breaking news, Greg. Okay, let me know what that is, CFB Plus. Keep your head on a swivel. Okay. Thank you, CFB Plus, for keeping your head on a swivel. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for telling me what is going on here as we do our live show. Ross Dellinger, in a memo sent today to NCAA schools, VP of Enforcement John Duncan announces that the D1 Board of Directors has charged the staff to pursue significant penalties for tampering violations, while also more publicly announcing cases and reminding schools about the tampering bylaw. Communications of any kind are not permitted with a student athlete at another school or any other representatives of their interests, including agents, before that student enters the NCAA transfer portal. If a coach is contacted by an agent of a student athlete who is not in the transfer portal, any further continuation of that discussion is considered a rules violation. That includes a coach or boosters expressing interest or suggesting the possibility of a roster spot opening for a student athlete should that individual enter the transfer portal? Well, first of all, good luck with all this. Again, you guys know how much I love follow the rules. Follow the damn rules. I think it would be a lot easier if these contracts were binding, right? But anyways, yes. Boy, there's been a lot of that, though. I don't know how they're going to... I guess maybe they would go after the most obvious ones, right? Ross Dellinger, the NCAA staff, is working with an infraction modernization task force to expedite the process of investigating potential rule violators of tampering and other matters, Duncan says in the letter, in an effort to better serve the new era of Division I. The NCAA staff from enforcement, hearing operations, governance, and membership services will work with Jeff Mearns, president of Ball State and the chair of the Division I Board of Directors Infraction Process Committee and Infractions Modernization Task Force to purpose policy changes to expedite the resolution of rule violations and make other improvements. It is our sincerest hope that these potential policy and rules changes will be better served the new era of Division I while balancing fairness, efficiency to meet membership expectations. In the meantime, the national office will work to speed up the infraction process within existing rules. This will include streamlining various stages of an investigation, such as collecting information from schools or student athletes more quickly, conducting interviews on a shorter schedule, and or limiting extension requests often made by parties in infraction cases. All right, so it looks like they're going to possibly come after people who have been tampering with student athletes. Miami versus Duke. That's the one I'm thinking. Now, this has happened a lot, right? This has happened. I'm sure it's happened to Miami, right? They got a guy who's been tampered with who has not gone into the portal. It's happening in a lot of places. But yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Darren Mensah, not in the portal. He's already committed. He's already got another year of a contract, and everybody knew where he was going, basically. Yeah. Hallelujah, but how is that going to be policed? Stephen Vitt, this is good. Stormy Cyclone, sad day for Miami. Ole Miss, absolutely. Ole Miss going after the Clemson player. Yeah, we talked about it. Mick Stevens, we talked about that SMU on the last live show. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Dabble. All right, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We will keep following that story. We'll see if there is any announcement. It sounds like they want the enforcement arm to be even more like publicly saying to people, you are under investigation, to be more publicly forward in their, and to have more announcements, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right. Thank you guys for letting me know. CFB Plus, thank you. Appreciate it. I want to talk about this real quick here. This is from News 12 in Kansas, I believe. Kansas State, Wichita State athletic directors hope for a state funding help in dollar-driven era. The Jayhawks, the Wildcats, the Shakas went to Topeka last month on a topic of state assistance in a more expensive era than ever era of college sports. Kind of like what Wisconsin just received, right? Ryan Willie put in a super chat. Wisconsin got a $14.6 million maintenance every year from the state. Kansas looks like to be going for something like that. News 12, TJ Keelan and Dylan Domag. I mispronounced that name. My apologies. Athletic directors in Kansas are setting rivalries aside as they face a new challenge in college athletics, rising costs. With reports of some football teams spending over $20 million on single rosters, revenue now being shared with athletes, and other rising costs, college sports have never been more expensive. The 3 Division I athletic directors in the state, Gene Taylor, Kansas State, Travis Goff at University of Kansas, and the Wichita State athletic director, all working together. Taylor in an interview, oh, believe me, it's really challenged for all of us. I mean, those numbers are big, but it's not just us in Kansas. Literally every athletic director I talk to is someone who sees this as a major challenge. Everyone is looking for more money. And then at the end of the article, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but while the state of Kansas is already over a month into its legislative session, it's unlikely that the issue will be addressed again this year. The trio of athletic directors say, though, they plan to continue pursuing the topic further at a later date. So, they're asking for state assistance, which a lot of schools are doing, right? Help funding, help this new era of college sports. It's getting more and more expensive. They do not want their athletic departments to fall behind. In that article, it talks about how valuable it is that there's good football, good basketball, a lot of victories going on at the top level of college sports in the state of Kansas. How much economic impact that brings in. Sacramento State, they talked about how going to FBS is an economic impact to Sacramento, the city of Sacramento, a positive impact. Okay. So that gets to my point here. The exit hatch. The title of the show is basically Miami and Duke. They have an exit hatch advantage. Is that going to play a big part in the next wave of disruption? I don't know. But I'm going to lay it out there for you guys to let marinate here. There are schools that have a lot easier exit hatch to get out of their situation if they were able to get an invite from a P2 conference. Miami and Duke have got the easiest exit hatch. Again, PATC, we are not saying that Miami's going to go to the Big Ten or that Duke's going to go to the Big Ten or the SEC, although I think Miami is I think they're really high in the tiers. Below Notre Dame and below North Carolina, I think is Miami for Big Ten. And I think Duke is at the same tier, the 4th tier, along with Georgia Tech, Utah, Virginia. But their ability to get out of their situation might enhance their ability to get to a P2. Duke has got no strings attached to them other than we believe at PATC, wherever they go, they would want somebody, a peer, to come with them. They would want an ACC peer to go with them. A North Carolina, of course, or a Virginia, of course, right? Miami has no strings attached to them whatsoever. Both of them are private institutions. Miami has the wherewithal. If everything lined up If everything lined up for Miami to get that Big Ten invite, Miami would be able to make it happen. They would have the wherewithal. They have the motivation. They have the independence. Duke has the same thing. North Carolina, their exit hatch, again, we have North Carolina at the center of the stage. We do not have Duke and Miami ahead of North Carolina. We're talking about this one variable, the exit hatch variable, how easy it is to get in and escape velocity, to escape your situation. North Carolina has a very complicated exit hatch. Virginia has a complicated exit hatch. Every Big 12 school has a more complicated exit hatch because we really don't know what it would take a Utah or a Kansas to be able to, what would it take for them to pay out and get out of the Big 12 for 2028, for 2029, for 2030? We really don't know. We really don't know. We don't know what Brett Yormark would do. We don't know what the Big 12 would do. We don't know if there is even a workable exit hatch for any Big 12 school if they would get an invite from the SEC or the Big Ten. We believe that Utah is working on an exit hatch when it comes to the private equity deal in a few different ways. One of those being a Big 12, one of those being the Big Ten, to be able to satisfy all parties. In the ACC, the two schools that actually have the easiest exit hatch is Duke and Miami. Now, Clemson and Florida State, I think, are right below them. The reason why we have Florida State below Miami and Duke is I think it would take a little bit more work for Florida State. Now, Florida State went to the courts. They risked a lot to win that. They won that court case against the ACC. The Florida State Seminoles and the Clemson Tigers, they won that court case. You see what the numbers are every year. How much it would cost to get out of the ACC. And the ACC has to accept your check. Those are victories. Now, there's not a spot for them yet. There's not a spot for either one of those two schools yet. And I think it would be a little bit more difficult for Florida State to get their, unless there's something cooking that we don't know, like Florida State trying to get their own money situation figured out. You know, maybe they have something that they can pull the trigger on to make sure that money is there for Florida State to go through that transition. And I'm not just talking about writing the ACC $100 million or $129 million, 100, whatever that money is at the time. I'm not talking about just the check that you would have to give the ACC. I'm talking about the money that it would need for you to get over that bridge to transition into the Big Ten of the SEC. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Florida State. But it can be done. And I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Clemson. Just a little bit more difficult. Now, Clemson, of course, is highly motivated. They went to the courts. They've got backers. Just like at Florida State, they got backers. They got money. But not to the point of Duke, not to the point of Miami, where they're private institutions. And again, Florida State has a little bit of a political situation with Gainesville, Florida. Clemson has a little bit of a political situation with the University of South Florida when it comes to the SEC option. So I would give Duke and Miami just the edge. They are the top two schools candidates to get to the Power 2 with the easiest exit hatches. Even though neither of those two schools, in my estimation, are the top two targets. Of course, that's Notre Dame and North Carolina. But Miami's number 3rd on that list. I think they're highly motivated. I think there's a lot of interest in Miami. It doesn't mean that they're a shoo-in. We have not, we're not saying anything is imminent. We have not reported that Miami's going to go to the Big Ten. We predicted it, but we have not reported it. Big difference. Big difference. But Miami's ability to make the move is easier than a lot of institutions. And of course, the biggest example is the school that is at the center of the stage, North Carolina. They've got a lot of complications when it comes to getting into their exit hatch. They'll be able to pull away from the mothership of the ACC. North Carolina, a lot of complicated political board of governors internally. It's a complicated matter. Very complicated. Virginia, it's very complicated. Duke in Miami, it's a lot more simple. It doesn't mean that Duke and Miami are ahead of North Carolina. I don't think so. No. But it gives them a sort of an advantage in a certain lane when it comes to realignment. And you talk about the Big 12 schools, again, the Big 12 core, none of them really have that exit hatch that we know of. Although we do believe at Peek Around the Corner, one of the big motivations, the biggest motivations for Utah to be entering into a possible equity deal is to get to higher land and to build out that exit hatch. So anyways, we just wanted to talk about it. It's something that we really haven't talked much about. The exit hatch, who's got it easy, who's got it more difficult. Georgia Tech is kind of its own case. Georgia Tech has the ability to get into that exit hatch. But Georgia Tech, they have the ability to get into that exit hatch, to build the exit hatch, to get into it. Except they just don't have the motivation as much as a Miami, as much as a Duke, and as much as a Utah, as much as a Clemson, as much as a Florida State. I really don't know why that is. But Georgia Tech is more inclined to make sure that they continue their relationship athletically, academically, culturally with Virginia and North Carolina. So Georgia Tech exit hatch can be built. They can squeeze in there. They can launch, but they're probably going to want to do it in coordination with the University of Virginia or the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So Georgia Tech is its own case, as far as we have been told. Georgia Tech still believes in the ACC mission, and they still want to be a part of the Virginia, North Carolina, that region of the country, that mentality, that academic first, that cultural. They want to be with Virginia and North Carolina and Duke. That's what Georgia Tech wants. So their exit hatch is kind of difficult because of their own doing. All right. Ricky Tungate, $10 holla. I don't think Utah signed DeGore. I cannot imagine that Utah has not signed that Gore. I know people have told me this. I'll go ahead and poke and prod on that again. I know that there was a delay somewhat built into the schedule, but I don't know how Utah can keep. I will take a look at that, Ricky Tungate. I would do some poking and prodding on that. Thank you for the $10 holler, Mr. Hoosier. I do think they are under a grant of rights. I could be wrong. But I think at this point they would have to be under the grant of rights. I don't know how they were allowed in and not have to sign that grant. I understand there was a delay, like they would get a year or something like that. But they've been in the Big 12 for a couple of years, so I think they've had to sign the Gore. But thank you, Ricky Tungate. I very much appreciate it. All I got to say about this, the Big Lubbock. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. Appreciate it. The Big Lubbock. I think the SEC stops at 18 schools. It is quite possible that the SEC's next expansion is a small scoop, just like historically they've done. No question about it. All I can... How do I say this? I mean, absolutely. The Southeastern Conference, the next wave of expansion could be they could add 2 schools and stop for now. But I keep going back to what I hear. And the chatter behind the curtain, how do I say this? You know, Paul Feinbaum, he thinks the SEC will expand by 2. I think Heather Dinich has said the same thing. All that is fine. But I happen to think that the Southeastern Conference doesn't stop at 18. Because that same chatter behind the curtain doesn't believe the Southeastern Conference is going to stop at 18. I mean, the best example of that is Brett McMurphy. If you listen to his interview with Ari Wasserman and Andy Staples, they asked him the question about, what do you think about Maryland's athletic director? When he was asked the question in an interview, Jim Smith, how many teams will the Big Ten be at in 2030? Maryland's athletic director said 20. He did not hesitate. What do you think about that, Brett McMurphy? And Brett McMurphy, and I'm paraphrasing it here, but Brett McMurphy said, 20? 20? I'm surprised you guys did not ask me about 24. And then he went on to say, really quickly, he said, 20 to 24, SEC, Big Ten, and then he talked about the candidates. I don't think anybody, the chatter behind the curtain, actually believes that the Southeastern Conference is going to stop at 18. Eventually, they're going to get to 20. Maybe more, but eventually get to 20. 20 is such an easier number anyways for so many different reasons. But so nobody really truly believes that basically what's happening is, besides this economic consolidation and all this, these conferences are attempting. Now, maybe it doesn't work. Maybe they don't get to that. Maybe we're going to have a big war with Iran, and it's going to turn into a world war, and we're going to have a Great Depression and all this. We don't know what's ahead of us, right? But I'm pretty sure that the Southeastern Conference of the Big Ten are looking at a future in which the conference basically becomes a league with conferences inside it, or with divisions, however you want to call it. It might not be divisions for football, but for divisions with their other sports. But basically a conference that becomes its own league with conferences or divisions or pods inside of it. Like, they're looking to grow. They're not looking to stop. It may not happen. Nothing is for sure. And we don't think anything is imminent. And for those who say, well, there's not enough value out there, I tell you, the people at Rosemont keep looking through their periscope at the people at Birmingham, and the people at Birmingham keep looking at through their periscope at the people at Rosemont. They're looking at market share between the two conferences. They're looking at international advantages for the international markets. They're looking at streaming in the future. They're looking at things that we're not looking at right now. And they want more content. They want more universities. They want a bigger diversity of students. So I think they go bigger. I think the SEC goes bigger. We'll find out together. We will find out together. Let me see if I've missed any super chats. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. I do think they signed their Gore, but I will take more of a look at it. Helmer Hennison, Buckeye Greg, Evil Badger. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to open up the phone lines. Opening up the phone lines. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give me a call. Give me a call. Representative Anna Paulina Luna is saying that it's looking like all the UAP files will be housed at the United States National Archives website. All the files are going to be located at the United States National Archives. Very interesting. Very interesting.
From
Rick?
Rick is on the line. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
Hey, thanks for taking the call. I'm trying to get some clarity on what you said on Saturday, if that's possible.
I don't even remember Saturday, but go ahead, sir.
Well, let's see if I can jog your memory.
Got it.
It was regarding Virginia and Virginia Tech.
Yes.
And about the governor of Virginia. And I want to see if I understand it correctly. Were you saying that if Virginia decided to, on their own, without the Hokies, go to the Big Ten, the financial support from the state wouldn't be there, or from the Commonwealth of Virginia?
The Virginia administrator, University of Virginia administrator, not a person in Congress, but administrator at the university, told us that he believed that the Virginia governor is going to push, if Virginia has an opportunity to get to a P2, the Virginia governor is going to make it a priority to get Virginia Tech in the P2, because it's believed that if Virginia would go alone, the support from the state would not be as good as if, versus if both schools made it to a P2. And they're going to need that support from the state. That is the thought process. He's been told that that's what people at Virginia believe the governor is at. That she is going to support the Virginia Tech being a part of all this, if she can possibly can.
Okay, so we're not talking financial support. We're talking about supporting their ability to leave.
No, I think we're talking financial support as well.
Oh wow.
That's what I got out of it. Yes, and that's why that's why this Kansas State thing is so interesting. I mean, what happens if the state does something for Kansas and Kansas State, gives them a maintenance fee every year, just like what Wisconsin decided to do for University of Wisconsin-Madison. Let's say that happens, and let's say a year later, Kansas says, well, we're going to go to the Big Ten. Well, the state of Kansas might be saying, well, we've been giving you this money, the same with Kansas State, and, we got our purse strings tied into this, and you're going to devalue Kansas State possibly if you leave, and once you get the state involved, they're going to have more say to it, right?
Well, that's exactly it, and that's what I was getting at. Is this isn't private equity? This is public equity.
Yes. So
public equity.
Yes, exactly. And so
and they want to pull strings.
Yes. So maybe that's why. That's why the governor's like, supposedly from this Virginia administrator saying, look, if the University of Virginia expects all this help, potential help, for transition, help politically to get in the SEC of the Big Ten, and you want financial help, political help, and all that, well, we're going to have to help Virginia. We're going to have to make sure Virginia Tech's a part of this, or you're not going to get that help. You're going to have to go alone. Like Utah has decided to go alone, right? Utah is trying to do this private equity deal so they have their own way of solidifying themselves, supposedly. But maybe Virginia can't do that. Maybe they don't have the wherewithal. Maybe they not a politically aligned. Maybe they just can't do that. Maybe that's why we're not hearing other schools do what Utah's doing, because for whatever reason they can't get it done. They can't get to that point. I don't know.
Can the legislature at North Carolina force the Tar Heels to bring the?
Well, the Board of Governors can, right?
To bring North Carolina State along with them?
The Board of Governors can. I mean, the Board of Governors have the power over all that. And if North Carolina, let's say they got an invite for the SEC tomorrow, North Carolina would have to bring that financial plans to the Board of Governors, present it to them, and say, look, we can get to the Southeastern Conference. This is what's going to cost us. This is what's going to benefit us. And then the Board of Governors, who they have the duty to look over North Carolina State's own, they have that province over North Carolina State. They're going to look at it, and they might say to North Carolina, well, you can't do it. You can't do it unless you give some money to North Carolina State, or North Carolina State has a spot with you, or whatever. Like I say, the exit hatches are very complicated for many of these schools. And I think North Carolina and Virginia are good examples of them.
Well, it gets even more complicated because now you're talking about their value. What's the value of the Tar Heels if they have to bring along NC State? What's the value of Kansas if they have to bring along the Wildcats? What's the value of Virginia if they have to bring along the Hokies?
Yeah.
That doesn't put them on the same tier that they would have been without them.
Exactly. Now the question is, would they have to bring them with them, or do they have to make sure that North Carolina State remains whole, that a Virginia Tech remains whole? Right? Like they get some kickback money, they get their own calamity, like what UCLA does with California.
I don't think there's enough money that can make them whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about moving to a P2.
Yeah. In the future, the P2 is going to be,
The power and the money that's going to come from the P2, and you're not going along, it's going to be like Cal getting their palimony.
Yeah. It's
nothing
complicated,
to,
isn't it, Rick?
it's extremely complicated, but it's more than that. It's political, and I
Yep.
can't stand the politics.
Yep. And that's why I think once in a while, and I was reminded of this by one of the people that I talked with, chatted behind the curtain. Once in a while, we got to all check ourselves, like we're doing today, and get back to the subject of, how difficult is this exit hatch going to be? I mean, so, Miami and Duke, while they had disadvantages, especially Duke, they have advantages as well. So this is one of those advantages. They can make their own exit hatch.
Oh, they're endowments. Those two, between those two, they're fat and happy.
Yeah.
They want the academic, and they want the other sports.
Yeah.
For the P2.
Yeah.
Duke does. And Miami probably does too. Okay, last question, I'll hang up.
Yeah.
Would we know how interested the Big Ten is in Virginia? Would the interest go down if the Hokies were a Virginia backpack?
I think it would go down. I think it would go down.
It would go down, but would it stop them from what? Would it stop the Big Ten from wanting Virginia, even if they knew they had to bring along?
And again, it all depends on what the other options are, right? Right? Everything's kind of relative to each other. It's kind of, but yeah, and nothing against Virginia Tech. I mean, maybe it's possible. We heard about 6 months ago from the Virginia Tech money perch that he said our one viable long shot option is Virginia and Virginia Tech both to the Big Ten, not to the SEC. He said that months ago, and we reported it. And now it might be where this guy was onto something. He did say it was a long shot, but he said this is our only shot for the Big Ten to include both of us, and the SEC's not going to do that. That's what he said. So.
Okay, good show. Thanks.
You got it. Appreciate it, buddy. Great call, Rick. Beautiful call by Rick. Legendary PATC. And I would agree with that. Florida State versus a lot of other schools have an easier exit. Same thing with Clemson. If they would get that SEC or Big Ten invite, first of all, they went to the courts. They're the one who risked. They're the one who spent money on lawyers. They got the victory. They would be able to get themselves what they need to do to get it done. I would just put Miami and Duke a little bit higher on the exit hatch, but I think Clemson and Florida State would be the next tier, then everybody else would be below them when it comes to complications of getting out of their situation. I would take more phone calls, but we're already at 2 hours in, and I gotta check on the Alabama Crimson Tide 93-year-old Catholic Irish woman that I'm taking care of, my mother. So we're going to have to close this up. I appreciate you all joining us. I appreciate everybody in the chat room. Thank you so much, Ricky Tungate, Helmer Hennison, Buckeye Greg, Evil Badger for your donations. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Ring that notification bell. We could come on later on tonight with breaking news. We can do 2 or 3 live shows in a single day. We could be doing a couple episodes in a single day. So keep your head on a swivel, buckle up. The off season has just begun. We did our Big 12 rankings. We did our Big 12 quarterback rankings. All right? We've got Jenkins, Kansas, number 16. We got the Cincinnati Bearcat, French, number 15. We've got Julian Lewis, Colorado, 14. We got Rondale, Iowa State Cyclone, number 13. Michael Hawkins, Mountaineer, number 12. Baylor Bear, PJ Legway, number 11. Jaden Craig from Harvard, number 10 for the TCU Horned Frogs, Jaden Craig. We've got number 9, Barnett Alonzo, Barnett, UCF. We've got Cutabole, Arizona State. Number 7, Drew Mestamaker, Oklahoma State Cowboys. Connor Wegman, number 6, Houston Cougar. Number 5, Avery Johnson, Kansas State. Number 4, Devon Dampia, Utah Utes. Noah Fafita, number 3, Arizona. Number 2, Brennan Sorsby, Texas Tech Red Raiders. And number 1, Mr. Superman himself, the BYU Cougar, Bear Bachmeier. That is the CFB PATC Big 12 quarterback rankings for 2026. We will get to the Big 10 next, then the ACC, and then the SEC quarterback rankings before we get into spring football, which I cannot wait. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family,